Good morning. It's Morning Musings by Melinda. It's Hump Day, Wednesday, and it is the 20th of May. Yesterday, it totally went out my window that it was my daughter's 14th wedding anniversary. I don't know how it went out my window. I know the date, but you know, in this time of us working at home and everything that's going on, things are slipping through our fingers without us even recognizing it. So happy anniversary to Amanda and Rick. 14 years married and 19 years together. She's breaking the karmic cycle. Yay! We are having Narcissism Week here and understanding the spiritual ramifications of the energy of narcissism. Remember that you cannot diagnose your partner, and true narcissistic personality disorder is way different than just having narcissistic traits and behaviors. And a lot of times those traits and behaviors stem from childhood trauma, and your inner child is out all day long instead of when you get triggered out, and that means that you go to a therapist. But if you think you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you still go to a therapist, because that therapist will help you really identify that those traits are truly a disorder and that you need to do something about it. So today we're going to talk about the difference between a female narcissist and a male narcissist, but because for some reason, not that I'm bashing my gender, ladies, but it's more of us girls that say, oh, my husband's a narcissist or my partner's a narcissist. And truly, there are female narcissists too, and they exhibit some of the same behavior, but with some subtle differences. So we're going to talk about that today. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about victim narcissists and what that means when you're a poor me constantly and trying to get attention from people through that poor me vibrational frequency. And lastly, on Friday, we're going to talk about codependence and why they're attracted to narcissists. And before I get started on what female narcissists are, yay, good news for North Dakota. I'm coming in August. Bill didn't put the date in front of me, but I know it's in August. So we will be letting you know as soon as we know. I think it's August 19th, but don't quote me on it because all those things kind of go out my window. But we are coming to North Dakota. We are going back to the university. They are opening up in August. We are going to have our wonderful event. We are excited about seeing you. I've always gone to North Dakota in the winter time. This will be my first time in the summer, so that should be great. So as I have been talking to you about the main narcissistic traits, they are an extreme sense of self-worth, craving attention from others, over-exaggerating achievements, expecting special treatment, wanting the best of everything, believing that they are special, lacking empathy for others, and having a sense of entitlement. So those are the main kind of traits, personality traits of a narcissist. But what is the difference between male and female narcissists? Well, women's narcissism can be a little bit more subtle in its energy. Males tend to exhibit more assertiveness and desire for power, but there's really no difference in the exhibitionism aspect, except that, you know, maybe women use their sexuality a little bit. Both genders are equally likely to display vanity or self-absorption. So, but I have some key differences for you here. Gosh, I did my homework and I don't know where to start. Okay, let's start with this one. 12 key differences between a male narcissist and a female narcissist. And so male narcissists tend to display excessive efforts of having superiority over others, and females may do it through a subtle situation. Female narcissists will use their bodies to get what they want, and in many cases, that includes their sexuality. Female narcissists are more likely to have an eating disorder than male narcissists. Now, that doesn't mean if you've had an eating disorder that you are a narcissist. It's just an aspect of it. Female narcs are more likely to have issues with getting older, especially when they use their bodies for sexuality. Do you have issues getting older? I don't know. I love getting older. I think, you know, when you get older, you can say what you damn well please, and that's all good for me. Female narcissists are more likely to secure their supply sources at home by controlling their family directly and using guilt to help secure control. There's something called emotional incest that female narcissists use with their opposite sex children, which is kind of yucky, but it's when a man or a woman, but in this case we're talking about female narcissism, so it's when a man can't break away from their mother. So if you're dating a man and he says he can't spend time with you in lieu of spending time with his mother and his family, that's a problem. Female narcissists tend to be less openly overconfident than male narcs, but they get their much needed overinflated confidence from inside their own heads and take pleasure in their own perceived superiority over others. They're more likely to spend money frivolously. And men, use their money for power and control and status, but female narcissists spend their money in order to look that perfect thing. So that kind of disorder where you're constantly getting plastic surgery and wanting to look like a Barbie doll, that may have an aspect of narcissism to it. Female narcissists as well as male narcissists are known to cheat. And males are more likely to be serial adulterers. Well, I've attracted that to me more than once in my life, and that's because I happen to be a codependent, and we'll talk about that. But both people have that insatiable need, both female and male narcissists have that insatiable need to be objectified for their beauty and their loveliness, and that's what happens in the beginning of the relationship. So that's why they do that. Male narcissists are more likely to see their kids as a pain in the ass, as well as competition for attention. And female narcissists tend to see their children as extension of themselves. Male narcissists are likely to treat other men as rivals, where female narcissists go nose to nose with other women in an underhanded way. That friend that is your friend only at face value and then turns around and says things. So I think I got that. 5 signs you're dealing with a dangerous female narcissist. Let's see what those are here as we talk about. Female narcissists do not grow out of their childhood aggression, and they, create those aggressive behaviors in adulthood. Again, all narcissists have temper tantrums, and I mean temper tantrums. And so, that kind of temper tantrum where you see a child in the grocery store falling on the floor and kicking and screaming their legs, both male and female narcissists will do that. But female narcissists can also do that in a way to manipulate and get what they want. They get a sadistic pleasure from someone else's pain. Their insatiable sense of competitiveness is due to being envious, so they're the ones that are envious of other friends. They sabotage friendships and relationships during, stirring chaos in social groups. I don't know, women, we get that a lot where somebody comes in and stirs up a lot of nonsense in our social groups. I hate that, don't you? Obsession with appearance, I think I already said that. Disregard for boundaries. And let's see if I got that. Oh, if somebody is a female narcissist and they have credentials and degrees, they're likely to put that out there in a way in which they intimidate you, etc. Okay, narcissists don't respect boundaries. There's a couple things. There's a book called The Wizard of Oz and Other Narcissists. A great book is Boundaries in Relationships by Charles Whitfield. If you have somebody in your boundary space blatantly, it's a problem. Too loose of a boundaries and also too rigid of a boundaries are problems. You have to find boundaries that are somewhere in the middle. Again, why do we discuss this in spirituality? Like, I'm not a psychologist. Why am I talking to you about narcissism on a spiritual page? Because everything on this earth plane holds a charge of energy. And while we're here, our soul is yearning to grow and understand the duality of planet Earth. That means the shadow and the light of who we are in combination on the earth plane. Our soul is like a car battery. The car battery needs a positive volt and a negative volt in order for the battery to move the car. It's the same thing with the soul on planet Earth. It needs a positive volt and a negative volt in order to move the soul along to learn. So if you are attracting narcissists to you, or people who have that type of behavior over and over again, it is something that your soul is yearning to understand and wants to figure out how to make it so that you are empowered and not letting somebody, kind of be like a vacuum cleaner hooking up and sucking your energy from you. And that's what narcissists do. They hook up to you, they suck your energy dry, you don't know where they have left off and you've begun. They actually change brain chemistry if you're bombarded with it long enough. And that's why when you're breaking up with a narcissist, it feels so devastating, because it's been a situation where your soul has been sucked out for so long that you don't know which end is up. So that's why we discuss it on a spiritual page. And if you want to learn more about it, please, again, look at the books that I am suggesting. If you want to learn more about understanding karmic patterns, please look at my book, Diary of a Mad Medium, where I'm teaching about how these patterns of behavior weave through our karmic profile from our nature and nurture and Akashic records meaning who we were in a past life. So I hope you like Narcissism Week. I'd take any suggestions that you want to give me on what you would like to talk about. And maybe we can do a whole week of meditations or something along those lines. Please make sure that you are sharing these videos out, because I think it's information that people want to hear. And lastly, my last announcement is those who are ticket holders for Spring Fling and Summer Sizzle, we are working with Harkins Theater. As soon as they open up and let us use their theater so that you can come and get a reading with a group with social distancing involved, we will make an announcement so that we can do that. My room at the Empowered Living Center is a little bit tight when you get 50 people in there and you're shoulder to shoulder. And because I care about you, I'm going to make some changes with those plans so that we can socially distance and still talk to our loved ones on the other side. You have an absolutely wonderful Wednesday, and I'll see you tomorrow discussing victim narcissists.